Well, I'm Matt Almas.
I'm Emily, and this is Caleb. We grew up together basically, and became a couple at the young age of 14. What drew me to Matt was definitely he radiates joy. He's always been laughing and cracking jokes, and I was always more reserved and shy and kind of insecure. So what drew me to him was this constant laughter, joking, and optimism. He was like sunshine, and everybody wanted to be around him.
Yeah, well, thank you.
When we got married, Matt was in dental school and I was in med school, and I think I had a hard time adjusting to the stresses of med school and being in a new marriage. I had a hard time balancing both of those demands.
Well, and figuring out our roles as a couple, I think, was a challenge. Marriage-wise, trying to figure things out, going through school. I feel like once we moved to Danville, Emily started her residency and me joining the practice here, then we both started kind of drifting away into like our own careers and not focusing on each other correctly and also not on God. For me personally, my relationship with God was very based off of what Emily was doing and how she was treating me.
Yeah, I think that to people on the outside, we were smiling and putting on a happy face, so I don't think anyone other than us realized that we were struggling personally and spiritually and in our marriage. When we got here, I think it was even the first Sunday, they were advertising the Mr. and Mrs. class, and we decided to try to salvage our struggling marriage, basically, and joined the class at the last minute. I think God worked a miracle in our lives. We both learned, like Matt said, that we needed to rely on God and not on ourselves, and not base our joy on each other. If we relied on each other as our source of joy and strength, we would ultimately, at some point, no matter how much we love each other, we would be disappointed because we fall short. So I think that disappointment in our case, we had let that build up for quite a while. And through the process of the marriage ministry class and just individually turning back to God and really building our individual relationships with God, we were able to find that joy again.
Yeah, for me it was deepening my own faith in God and not relying on Emily, just building a trust in him. And I feel like that's where my joy comes from, is my relationship with God and knowing that he's been before me, he's come behind me, that he walks with me through trials and gives strength throughout the day just to face what challenges lie ahead of us. Like we had a really hard time getting pregnant with Caleb here. The week that we found out that we were pregnant, I don't know if I've ever prayed wholeheartedly for too much in life, but that year of trying and expecting and hoping to start a family was really starting to weigh on me. So I prayed one day. I can remember it in the bathroom. I got down and prayed, asking for God to do whatever work he needed to do in me to change so that I'm ready for fatherhood and ready for a child. And then later that week, we found out that we were pregnant with Caleb.
During that time, the verse that I kept focusing on was 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. I think had we not gone through the trial that we went through with our marriage and built our strength during that time, I don't think that I would have been able to get through that in a good way.
I remember Pastor Arlie gave us a sermon on the difference of joy and happiness. And I feel like I'm a pretty happy person. Joy I get from the Lord. I know that I can't be filled with joy without my relationship with God, with the interactions that I have with him, with hearing his direction for me. That's where I get my confidence. General demeanor, I'm just a happy person. But that's different. That's very different than what joy is.
It can't just depend on our circumstances, because even with this blessing running around in front of us, a tangible sign for us of God's faithfulness and just a constant reminder of joy, we can still, I still have found that since having him, I have to rely on God for my true everlasting peace kind of joy. Because even after having him, I noticed myself kind of going back to my tendency of becoming anxious. That's not uncommon postpartum, but I was kind of feeling guilty almost for having anxiety or sadness after having our prayers answered in this way. And I think what encourages me is that Paul has to remind people to be joyful. Gives me some encouragement that it's okay if it's not the automatic feeling that I have at all times.
No, it's an intentionality, and that goes through our relationship with God and our prayer life, our time devoted to interaction with him. God's joy just does give me so much strength in trial, tribulation, and there's an intentionality to put that time aside and have my relationship with God so that then I can go forward and conquer the day. As we celebrate this Advent season, we can honestly say,
our family story is built on joy.
Today we light the candle of joy